Sound of gunfire pierces the night sky on this Veterans Day evening in the East Valley. A huge police presence floods the scene as we begin to piece together what happened, who may have been involved, and how many may have been hurt. It is confusing. We'll bring you the latest. Good evening. Glad you're with us on this Veterans Day night. I'm Chris Long.
And I am Brooke Berry. We are following breaking news out of Coachella tonight, where a major investigation is underway after a shooting.
Shots rang out just before 7 o'clock this evening in the area of Tripoli and Cairo. That's near the intersection of Harrison Street and Avenue 52. CBS Local 2's Natalie Brunell has been on the scene out there since shortly after we heard of the shooting. Natalie, I understand police are being tight-lipped about what went on out there. This is a tough crime scene, I understand, for a reporter to figure out. But what have you been able to learn out there over the last few hours?
Absolutely. Well, Brooke and Chris, there are multiple crime scenes, but what we can confirm right now is 2 people were shot and taken to a local hospital, and 1 victim has been pronounced dead. I'm going to show you the scene right here. We are on Tripoli Way at Araby, and as I mentioned, multiple crime scenes. Let me go over what we know so far. Riverside County Sheriff's Department responded to a call of shots fired just before 7 o'clock here on Tripoli, a little bit down the way at Medina, and we're told 2 victims were shot. One source with the Sheriff's Department said 1 suffered a gunshot wound to the head, and both were taken to a local hospital. That's when one of the victims was pronounced dead. Now, we don't know the other victim's condition at this time, but we are also waiting to hear if there is a suspect or suspects at large. There was a Sheriff's Department helicopter circling the area with a spotlight when we arrived on scene, but since then it is no longer in the air. We have been moving around to get different vantage points, and we did see what appeared to be bullet casings on an alley behind Cairo. Now, I spoke with neighbors here who say they heard multiple gunshots in the range of 10 to 12, but no one in this neighborhood would speak with us on camera because they say this isn't the first time a shooting has happened. Now, there are several road closures I do want to tell you about. Obviously, Tripoli is closed in several locations, not only here at Araby, but also between Avenue 52 and Valley Road. There seems to be another crime scene there. We cannot get information at this time about that. And Tripoli is closed between Cairo and Araby. That's the second crime scene where we just showed you. And finally, Medina and Cairo streets are also closed between Harrison and Date Avenues. Now, this is a very active investigation. We are waiting to learn more information, so we will check back in with you later on in this newscast as soon as we have any more information. Reporting live in Coachella, Natalie Brunell, CBS Local 2 News.
And Natalie, let me ask you, besides seeing a number of police units out there, we did see some cars. It almost looked like one was up against. Is there any reason to believe this may have been a drive-by shooting? Were people in cars when this happened, or were they on foot, or do we know it all yet?
We're waiting to learn that information. We've been asking those questions, but so far, as you mentioned, Sheriff's Department has been very tight-lipped, so we are waiting to find out if the suspects, if any, fled on foot, fled by car. We're really not sure yet.
Thank you, Natalie, reporting in Coachella, where a neighborhood looks like it's essentially on lockdown tonight. Thank you.
Yeah, it's been a large crime scene throughout the evening. All right, something that was missing from the Desert Hot Springs Veterans Day ceremony today. How about 4 brass medallions? The medallions were stolen a few weeks ago. Take a look. All that's left are 4 empty spaces in the walkway. This is at Veterans Memorial Park. According to DHS Mayor Adam Sanchez, a veteran who works for the city reported the missing medallions a few weeks ago, and he was at the park. According to DHS police, the medallions were never reported stolen.
I think it's wrong. I mean, there's no reason for that amount of money for somebody to come and take something like that, you know?
The medallions that were stolen represent 4 different service branches of the United States military: Army, Navy, Coast Guard, Air Force. The only remaining medallion was the one representing the U.S. Marines. Mayor Sanchez said a nonprofit group has pledged to replace the missing medallions.
The nation's capital was rocking in honor of Veterans Day. The Concert for Valor featured artists like Bruce Springsteen, Eminem, and Rihanna. I even saw Dave Grohl there. Tens of thousands of veterans and active duty service members attended the show. The tickets were free, but concert goers and those watching at home were urged to support veteran services groups. Veterans echoed the same sentiment, saying the best way to show thanks to veterans is learn what they need.
Veterans want to connect when they come home, and I think civilians want to connect with those veterans, but there just has to be an efficient platform, and there has to be an honest conversation for that to happen.
And it's a conversation that veterans say does not need a concert or holiday to start.
All right, here in our Valley, Veterans Day events across the whole area, thousands coming together to honor the men and women who served and continue to serve our country. More than 20,000 people packed downtown Palm Springs for the 18th annual Veterans Day Parade, which ended with a spectacular fireworks display. In Cathedral City, veterans were honored at a ceremony at Veterans Chapel. Local leaders, students, and neighbors recognized the commitments and sacrifices of our heroes through song, prayer, and a color guard salute.
Veterans Day means to honor all veterans, past, present, and future, especially the fallen who have allowed us to live the way of life that we live here in the United States of America today.
And in Palm Desert, a Veterans Day ceremony was held at Civic Center Park. The ceremony here included a keynote speech by Lieutenant Colonel Jared Spurlock, stationed at the Marine Base in 29 Palms. And in Indian Wells, hundreds came out to honor our veterans today. 9 new names were added to the wall honoring those who served. No matter where they celebrated, the sentiment of the day remained very much the same.
So today we celebrate the generations of brave men and women, brave Americans, who above all else believed in and fought for a set of ideals that our nation was founded upon: freedom, hope, and equality.
TAPS always stirs the soul, doesn't it? Local businesses around the valley said thank you to veterans today. In Desert Hot Springs, Sidewinder Grill served free turkey dinner to veterans and their loved ones. On the other side of the valley, Executive Car Wash in Palm Desert offered veterans free car washes for the 10th year in a row. Many of the people we spoke with today who offered discounts tell CBS Local 2 they plan to carry on the tradition. Besides being a little bit breezy, the weather pretty much cooperated for a Veterans Day and the activity.
Get that handkerchief right, Pat.
Just checking.
Let's talk about that. It is a little bit breezy, kicking up a little bit of dust. You and I both kind of have the sneezes.
Yeah. You might have actually caught me sneezing in the first block of our newscast. Temperatures well below our seasonal average today. Cool weather pushing in here, knocked down daytime highs. We should be around 79, and that's actually kind of a hallmark. For the first time all season, our daytime high average is at 79, not in the 80s. 73, though, is what we hit today. We had some strong gusty winds out of the northwest, and that really brought in some cooler temperatures. 52 first thing in the morning, so it was chilly to start the day. Look what's going on across the rest of the nation. We're talking about single digits, wind chills well below zero. We're down in the 30s in Chicago and St. Louis, 15 degrees in Fargo, 3 in Billings, Montana, and Denver is a frosty 6 degrees. But this storm system that is bringing all of this very cold weather is also impacting Southern California. So the cooler weather is not just isolated to the Plain States or the Great Lakes. We're picking up much colder than normal conditions, and we've really dropped down below our seasonal averages. That's going to change. We're going to get back to about normal as we head through the rest of this week. But overall, the pattern here is much cooler than we have been, certainly in comparison to last week. And our overnight lows stay quite cool, down in those 50s. You'll want to see all the numbers. They're coming up in my 7-day planning forecast in just a couple of minutes. Is this thing all right now?
It is perfect. Thank you, sir. We are following up tonight on a string of people hit by vehicles.
In Cathedral City, we have learned that the elderly man who was struck by a car has died. It happened near Landau and McCallum Way. That's where police say the man, who was not using a crosswalk, was hit by a car. He died at the hospital about 2 hours later. The driver did stop and is cooperating with the police, won't be cited. The 84-year-old victim was from Cathedral City.
And tonight we know the name of a man killed after being struck by a car in Palm Springs over the weekend. 60-year-old Michael Kuzmiuk of Riverside was walking in Palm Springs early Saturday evening while crossing East Ramon Road just west of Sunrise. No word on whether or not Kuzmiuk was using a crosswalk at the time. He died a couple hours later at Desert Regional Medical Center. Police say alcohol not a factor in the crash. The driver did stop and was not cited. And a wacky ending to a police chase in Palm Springs today left 2 people in custody and a Ford truck submerged in a water hazard, a golf course lake. Officers tried to stop the driver, 23-year-old Fidel Mirando Boiso of Cathedral City, for driving a stolen truck. this near Sunny Dunes Road and Sunrise. When he did not stop, a pursuit was underway. It happened about 8:30 this morning, shortly after the driver crashed through a gate on Sonora Road, ended up, there you see it, in a golf course lake along the 9th hole at Tockwitz Creek Golf Course. Neither the driver nor the passenger, 20-year-old Jasmine Vivanco, were hurt. The driver was booked, however, on suspicion of auto theft, possession of a stolen vehicle, evading police, and the passenger didn't get off either. He was booked on suspicion of resisting a police officer.
End up in a hazard like that, and your play is done for the day.
I would say yes.
President Obama breaks the rule of many school teachers today, and it's causing him lots of grief tonight. What has critics chewing out the commander-in-chief?
And next, good news on the American Ebola front tonight. Once there were 9 cases on our shores. Find out how many are still active ahead. On Veterans Day, you're watching CBS Local 2 Nightcast. We stand for you.
Greg Spencer, the doctor who caught Ebola treating patients in West Africa, is free of the virus and has been released from a New York City hospital. Spencer's clean bill of health means the United States is now Ebola-free. He was the last of 9 Ebola patients in the U.S. Spencer sparked Ebola fears in New York City after health officials revealed that he rode the subway, ate at a restaurant, and even went bowling with friends the day before he showed symptoms.
Please join me in turning our attention back to West Africa and ensuring that medical volunteers and other aid workers do not face stigma and threats upon their return home.
Meanwhile, the nurse who challenged Maine's quarantine rules no longer has to go through daily monitoring. The 21-day incubation period for Casey Hickox ended today.
And today, newly re-elected Congressman Dr. Raul Ruiz backed a bipartisan letter to Dr. Carolyn Clancy, the interim Undersecretary for Health for the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs. The main topic of the letter was on the Ebola preparedness of VA medical facilities across our country. We spoke to the congressman about the letter today in Palm Springs.
We need to continue to push and demand that the VA provide high-quality, veteran-centered care to all of our veterans. In addition to that, we have to also make sure, as part of the high-quality care, that they use the scientific approach and the protocols that the CDC and the world experts are urging our hospitals to follow.
President Obama became a hot topic online while in Beijing for the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation Forum. But it wasn't because of anything he said, it was because of this. He's arriving for a ceremony for leaders in town for the APEC Forum and chewing gum. It caused some locals to take offense. They aired their irritation online, with some saying that it made him look immature or like a rapper. Some people also took issue with the president's decision to take a State Department vehicle to the event instead of using the local limousine service that many other world leaders used. Everything caught on camera today.
He looks pretty cool in his Chinese garb, though. I'll say that for him.
Yeah, he's dressed in the part of a guest of the Chinese government.
Well, parts of our country seeing the very first signs of the winter ahead tonight.
We're going to check out Mother Nature's first wintry onslaught and check our own cooling temperatures.
Yes, indeed. Is this thing okay? I'm very concerned about this. We have very pleasant cool temperatures. We're down to 64 now. We're headed into the 50s overnight, and we will be that way for much of the rest of the week. Your complete 7-day planning forecast is next on CBS Local 2, right after I fix this pocket square.
Flight cancellations, slippery roads, snow-covered landscapes, scenes that usually play out in maybe December, January, are happening throughout several Midwestern states. This is Marquette, Michigan, which I believe is in the Upper Peninsula. The snow expected to cover northern states. The cold snap could bring unseasonably low temperatures even further south, though. An estimated 200 million Americans, 2/3 of the people in our country, are experiencing the first cold wrath of Mother Nature this season.
Now, your hour-by-hour weather forecast with Chief Meteorologist Patrick Evans.
Despite our temperatures dipping into, the 70s this week, I don't really think we can count ourselves among those 2/3 of American experiencing the polar vortex.
I don't feel sorry for them. No. They can move here just like we did. Be fine.
Well, let's face it. Here. I mean, after our summer, we got some good stuff coming.
Absolutely, and we deserve this. They don't deserve necessarily that, but they're getting stuck with it. You're a Michigan guy.
Michigander, born in Michigan, yeah, but not the UP.
Show us on the hand where it is there.
That was right there around the thumb.
All right, 64 degrees right now in Palm Springs, as I showed you. Winds are calm. Let's take a look at what's going on across the rest of the nation. There really isn't a lot of precipitation out of this storm system. It is mainly cold air that has moved in, but there is some snow. Chris was talking about the UP of Michigan. You got the area around the thumb that he was discussing, but there is snow. Then at farther north, you got a bunch of precipitation north of the Great Lakes, and then south of the Great Lakes right now, we've got a little bit of rainfall that will change to snow. Cold air pushing out of Canada. This is a very strong area of low pressure that is pulling with it cold air that is affecting even Southern California, because this system is that big and that significant. The cold air coming in off the coast. We picked up some partly cloudy skies today, ended up with overcast conditions at the coastline, and then high thin clouds here in the desert. What we'll experience tomorrow, likely similar, although I think we'll warm up a little bit. It was cooler than normal by about 6 degrees today, and we're down in the 60s now, slowly cooling off. 67 outside of our studios, also same number in La Quinta, 66 in Cathedral City, and 67 seems to be the popular number. Indio and Thermal checking in at that same temperature. The wind speeds out of the Banning-Beaumont Pass are coming in at around 15-20 miles per hour as you work your way into Desert Hot Springs and Thousand Palms. So it's a touch gusty and will remain that way tomorrow. The valley floor will see winds of up to about 20 miles per hour, but north of the freeway in the traditionally windy spots, we're going to look at winds around 35 miles per hour. Today in Whitewater, we clocked a gust of 50 miles per hour. So there's some wind associated with it, but this really is all about temperature, and we continue to see cooler than normal numbers in our 7-day. Tomorrow morning, sunrise 6:14 will be at about 54 degrees. It'll be a cool start to the day. Again, tomorrow, a few clouds here in the inland valleys, including the Coachella Valley. We're watching another storm system up north. We'll take that into consideration as we head into the rest of the week. 77 or thereabouts tomorrow, and then 79 on Thursday. Our hour-by-hour forecast tomorrow has us in the mid-60s at 9 a.m., noon 73, 77 for the daytime high. Wind speeds likely to be clocking around 10, maybe 15 miles per hour as we move through Wednesday into Thursday. The winds lay down, and that means the temperatures warm up a little bit as we head through Sunday into Monday and Tuesday of next week. So we'll be running a few degrees above normal. Overnight lows in the 50s.
Beautiful day today for all the Veterans Day events around the valley.
Absolutely.
Thank you, sir.
My pleasure. We do what we can.
Up next, it is proving to be just what multiple sclerosis patients need.
Who says you should confine yourself to your home or your neighborhood? These MS patients are finding relief at sea. And you're watching CBS Local 2 Nightcast.
A unique around-the-world sailing trip is launching awareness and inspiration about multiple sclerosis, a disease that affects millions of people. The sail began back in Copenhagen back in June and will visit some 20 international ports before wrapping up in Denmark next fall. At each stop on the journey around the world, local MS patients are taken out on the water for 2-hour sails. The experience is meant to empower people who live with the disease.
When we cross the Atlantic, you realize that we're all imperfect and we're all very vulnerable, MS or not.
When the team arrived in New York, there was a champagne toast not only for the journey made so far, but also for the lives changed along the way.
More than 36 Valley charities getting a boost from hundreds of thousands of dollars raised during this year's wonderful Humana Challenge in partnership with the Clinton Foundation. And today, Desert Classic Charities, wonderful group, distributed nearly $1 million to 40 Valley charities: Fine Food Bank, Desert Arc, United Cerebral Palsy, Pegasus Riding Academy. Just a few of the nonprofits receiving some of the proceeds this year. This is at the beautiful La Quinta Country Club, and I was there to present some of the checks to those charities today during a luncheon. Great event. Next on Local 2 Sports, find out how two of the Valley's top fighters are teaming up to prepare for their upcoming battles.
Plus, a busy playoff Tuesday in girls volleyball. Chris Alvarez has scores and highlights from first round play on the courts. You're watching CBS Local 2 Nightcast.